What do you do when the person you trust the most becomes your worst heartbreak? How do you survive betrayal when it comes from not one, but two people you loved deeply? And what happens when a loyal woman is pushed to her breaking point? If you want answers to these questions, you must spend just 2 minutes watching this video. In the next 2 minutes, your heart will race. Your mind will scream. Your soul will ache. And by the end, you'll either cry or clap. So stay. Watch till the end. You won't believe what she did. Beatrice wasn't just in love, she was dreaming. A wedding dress already picked. A guest list half written. Her heart fully given. Alan was her man. Her forever. At least, that's what he made her believe. And Tina? Oh, Tina was more than a friend. She was a sister. The one who held Beatrice's hand when she cried. The one who helped her choose the ring Alan gave her. The one who swore to always protect her. The one who was sleeping with her fiancé. Yes, that. It started with a gut feeling. You know that tiny voice in your head that whispers, something isn't right? Beatrice heard it. She ignored it. Until the voice screamed so loud, she couldn't sleep. Alan started acting strange. Long calls he couldn't explain. Messages he quickly deleted. Smiles that didn't reach his eyes anymore. Tina started acting too nice. Too available. She was always around Alan. Laughing louder at his jokes. Touching his shoulder just a little too often. Beatrice prayed she was wrong. She hoped it was just her imagination. Until the day she walked into Alan's apartment without knocking, and saw Tina in his shirt. Beatrice froze. Alan jumped like a criminal caught in the act. Tina covered her face like shame could hide behind her fingers. The room was silent. 3 heartbeats. 1 betrayal. Beatrice didn't cry. Not then. She left. Quietly. But oh, what she did next. The world wasn't ready. She didn't call her mother. She didn't scream at the sky. She didn't post her pain online. No. She disappeared. 2 days later, Alan got a message, "You'll see me again, when it hurts." He laughed. Until he didn't. Weeks passed. Alan tried calling. Texting. Nothing. Tina moved into his place, thinking she had won. But Alan couldn't sleep. The house felt cold. Tina wasn't Beatrice. She didn't look at him like he was her world. She looked at him like he was her prize. And suddenly, Alan missed the love. The loyalty. The laughter that didn't come with a price. Then came the wedding invitation. Not theirs. Beatrice was getting married. To someone else. A man she met during her silence. A man who saw her broken heart and treated it like gold. A man who said, "I'll never make you cry for the wrong reasons." Alan showed up at the wedding. Uninvited. He stood at the back of the church. Watched her walk down the aisle in the dress she once imagined wearing for him. He saw her smile at another man like he used to dream she'd smile at him. He watched her become someone else's forever. And Tina? She wasn't beside him anymore. She had left too. Turns out, she was only in it for the thrill. Alan lost both. And Beatrice? She won. She didn't fight. She didn't beg. She didn't try to ruin anyone's life. She healed. She walked away. And she showed the world, sometimes, the best revenge is living well. Now tell me, was that 2 minutes well spent? Watch it again. Share it. Because someone out there needs to remember. You don't have to scream to be heard. Sometimes, silence is louder than thunder. It started with laughter. The kind that dances off the lips and hides behind shy glances. The kind that starts in the throat and ends in the heart. The kind that makes you believe, this is real. Beatrice wasn't looking for love. She wasn't desperate. She was happy, busy, loyal, too loyal. Especially to her best friend, Tina. Beatrice was the kind of woman who would leave her house at 10 p.m. if Tina forgot her charger. She'd skip her own lunch to bring Tina food at work. She didn't count it as sacrifice. She called it sisterhood. Tina knew it. Tina used it. Tina was beautiful, smart, loud. The kind of woman who walked into a room and made heads turn. And she liked Alan. She liked the challenge. Because Alan didn't look her way. He was the kind of man who didn't fall for bright colors or loud perfume. He noticed quiet kindness. He noticed Beatrice. But Tina? She noticed everything. And when Alan ignored her flirtations, she felt insulted. Not hurt. Not sad. Insulted. So she came up with a plan. I met this guy, she said one Sunday afternoon, lounging on Beatrice's couch. You'll like him. You both love old music and weird books. He's different. Beatrice laughed, brushing her braids behind her ear. Tina, you think every guy is for me? No, seriously. He's smart. A bit arrogant, but you'll humble him. She said it with a wink. A playful smirk. But in her mind, she was setting the pieces on a chessboard. She knew Beatrice would fall. She also knew Alan would choose Beatrice. And she planned it all. The first time Beatrice met Alan, they spoke for 2 hours straight. No awkward pauses. No checking phones. Just conversation that felt like breathing. They spoke about old dreams, childhood fears, music that made them cry. Alan stared at her like she was sunlight bottled in human form. And Beatrice, she tried not to blush too hard. After he left that night, Tina asked with a smirk, "So?" Beatrice shook her head, pretending not to care. But Tina saw the sparkle in her eyes. She had won the first round. The relationship bloomed quickly. Alan was kind, not just in words but in actions. He remembered details: her mom's birthday, her favorite flower, the name of the book she mentioned once and never brought up again. Beatrice fell hard. And deep. The kind of love that makes you pray. The kind that makes you write future children's names on sticky notes. Tina watched. Smiling. Nodding. Offering to help plan dates. Helping Beatrice pick outfits. Pretending to cheer. But in her heart, she was boiling. How dare he overlook me? How dare she get the man I wanted, the man I introduced, when I was just using her to get to him? Tina didn't want Alan anymore. She wanted revenge. She became Beatrice's shadow. Always present. Always listening. Always pretending. She asked questions like, "Are you sure he's not still talking to his ex? Why doesn't he post you online? Don't you think he's too good to be true?" Planting doubts. Softly. Slowly. Carefully. Watering them until they took root in Beatrice's heart. And Beatrice? She didn't even realize she was withering. But the biggest move Tina made, the move that flipped the board? She started texting Alan. Not with flirty messages at first. No. She was smarter than that. She sent jokes. Memes. "Hope you're treating my bestie right." Alan laughed. Replied casually. Then came the late-night chats. The accidental selfies. The complaints. "Beatrice doesn't appreciate you enough, does she?" Alan didn't see it coming. He thought it was harmless. But Tina was patient, like a snake, waiting in the grass. One night, after a silly argument between Alan and Beatrice over something as small as movie tickets, Tina pounced. She dropped by Alan's place. With wine. And stories. And a shoulder. Alan didn't plan to cheat. But sometimes betrayal doesn't come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with comfort. With familiar faces. With fake sympathy. And just like that, he slipped. Beatrice was at home, crying over the fight. Wondering if she was overthinking things. Typing, deleting, retyping a message to say, "I'm sorry." At the exact same time, Tina was in her fiancé's bed. But karma doesn't sleep. And secrets? They have legs. What happened next would break your heart, but also make you believe in the power of a woman rising from ashes. Because Beatrice would soon discover it all. And when she did, she wouldn't scream. She wouldn't fight. She wouldn't beg for answers. She would disappear, and return stronger than they ever imagined. Pain doesn't always come with thunder. Sometimes it slips in quietly, like a whisper or a lie. It was a rainy evening. The kind of evening that wraps the city in silence. Beatrice had just finished work early, carrying Alan's favorite meal in a paper bag. Her plan was simple: surprise him, kiss him, watch a movie together, maybe talk about the future again. She was smiling, humming, completely unaware that her heart was about to bleed. Earlier that day, Tina had called Alan. Her voice was low, weak, full of forced coughs. "I'm not feeling too good," she said. "Can I stay at your place? It's closer to the hospital, and B is so busy these days." Alan hesitated. He didn't know what to say, but guilt is a dangerous leash. And Tina had a way of wrapping hers around his neck. "Just one night," she added sweetly. "Please, don't tell Beatrice. She worries too much." And so, he agreed. Beatrice didn't knock. Why would she? This was her fiancé. This was her safe space. She turned the handle, walked in, and nearly dropped the bag in her hand. Tina. In his shirt. Sitting on his bed. The blanket barely covering her thighs. She froze. Alan was in the bathroom. Whistling. Tina looked up, and her eyes widened like a bad actress caught mid-scene. "B. I didn't know you were coming. I'm so sorry. I was feeling so ill, and Alan said I could lie down here just for the night." Her voice trembled. She coughed, like she needed the lie to stick. Beatrice blinked. "Once. Twice. Your own house was too far?" she asked, trying not to let the sting rise in her throat. Tina grabbed the blanket tighter. "I couldn't reach you. I thought he'd understand. You trust me, right?" And then Alan walked out, his towel slung low, his hair wet. He stopped mid-step. "Babe, you're here." The silence between them could slice glass. That was the moment. That was the crack. And Beatrice had a choice. Scream. Break something. Demand answers. But instead, she nodded. Slowly. "I brought food," she said, and placed the bag on the table like her hands weren't shaking. "Tina, you should stay the night. Rest." Alan stepped closer. "B. No," she said, eyes blank. "I get it. It's fine." She even smiled. But inside, she was falling, screaming, dying. Because love makes fools of us all, and sometimes, silence is survival. She couldn't bring herself to explode. Not yet. Not without proof. Not without clarity. Not when the two people she loved most looked her in the face and pretended she was crazy. And so, she let it go. At least, that's what they thought. That night, Beatrice didn't sleep. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, her chest tight with confusion. Could it be true? Could Tina, her friend, her blood, be sleeping with her man? Could Alan be that cold? She didn't want drama. She didn't want disgrace. But she knew one thing. She wasn't going to be fooled again. The next morning, she sent a message. To both of them. In one group chat. No greetings. No emojis. Just a few words. "I forgive you both. But I'll never trust you again." Tina replied first. "What are you saying, B?" "Nothing happened. I swear. You're being paranoid." Alan followed. "Babe, don't do this. You're overthinking. I love you." She read their words. Smiled bitterly. And that was when something in Beatrice broke, but not in the way they hoped. She didn't cry anymore. She made a plan. Because love betrayed is one thing. But loyalty betrayed? That's war. And Beatrice was about to fight her quiet battle, with class, with power, and with silence that would leave both of them haunted. Sometimes, silence is not surrender. It is the calm before the perfect revenge. And Beatrice? She wasn't planning to cry. She was planning to strike. Alan thought she believed him. Tina swore they had covered the tracks well. But what they didn't know was that Beatrice had awakened. Not the soft, ever-loyal Beatrice who ran errands for everyone and smiled through disrespect. No. This version was colder. Sharper. Dangerously quiet. She continued the relationship, on the surface. Still texting Alan sweet words. Still responding to Tina's check-ins with fake smiles and, "I'm fine." Still pretending to believe nothing happened that night. But beneath the smile was a woman who had seen through the lies and decided to play a smarter game. You see, Beatrice understood something about pretenders. They always think they're the smartest in the room. Tina thought she had won. She giggled around Alan more now. Showed up at his place more boldly. Touched his arm more confidently. But she didn't know, Beatrice was watching every move. Alan, on the other hand, didn't even know when he slipped from lover to puppet. He wasn't in love with Tina. Not even close. He was still deeply, madly in love with Beatrice. But like a fool blinded by guilt and manipulated by false tears, he danced to Tina's tune. And Tina? She wasn't in love either. She was obsessed with winning. She didn't want the man. She wanted to ruin the woman. And that made her dangerous. Beatrice saw it all now. Tina had introduced Alan not because she cared, but because he didn't want her. And when she saw how easily he fell for Beatrice, she couldn't stand it. She wanted to prove a point. To teach him a lesson. To punish Beatrice for simply being lovable. But Beatrice wasn't going to scream or expose them. No. She was going to scar them. Slowly, sweetly. Enter Daniel. The man Beatrice had always refused. Tall. Proud. Arrogant. The type who believed every woman should be lucky to be with him. Beatrice had ignored him before. She didn't like his ego. But now, he would serve a purpose. She messaged him one evening. "Hey, still interested in grabbing that drink?" He replied in seconds. "I never stopped being interested." And just like that, Beatrice began her own game. She started showing up with Daniel. Laughing loudly. Taking pictures. Posting stories. Alan saw them. And every time he did, he clenched his fists in silence. He started asking questions, calling more often. "Babe, who is this guy? Are you seriously seeing him? I thought we were okay?" Beatrice would reply coolly. "We are okay. You and I are fine. I'm just expanding." The message was simple. "I'm moving on, and I'm not looking back." Tina, on the other hand, began to unravel. Her calls became more frantic. You know Alan loves you, right? Don't let one misunderstanding ruin things. I swear to you, I didn't mean for things to happen like that." But Beatrice was done pretending. "Tina," she said once over the phone, "you're not sorry because you hurt me. You're sorry because your little plan is falling apart. You were never after Alan. You were after me." There was silence on the other end. Then a tearful whisper. "You don't know how it feels to be second place." Beatrice paused. Then replied, cold and clear. "That's because I've never tried to win what wasn't mine." And she hung up. Meanwhile, Alan was spiraling. He started visiting Beatrice unannounced. Leaving flowers. Letters. Voicemails. "I made a mistake. I didn't sleep with her again. I swear. It didn't mean anything. I was confused. I was stupid. I miss you, B. Please come back." But the woman who used to cry for his attention? She was now being courted, worshipped, respected. Daniel, for all his flaws, was helping her shine again. And even though Beatrice wasn't in love with him, she used that season to heal. She laughed again. Smiled from her soul. Looked in the mirror and saw her worth. Not through Alan's love, but through her own eyes. And Alan, he lost more than a girlfriend. He lost a future. He lost peace. He lost the only woman who saw his brokenness and still believed in his potential. And Tina? She eventually confessed. Tried to make peace. But what's peace when the war was built on betrayal? It took them months to rebuild themselves. To stop checking her social media. To stop regretting one single, selfish night. Because Beatrice had taught them something. Don't ever play games with a woman who was loyal from the beginning. Because when she decides to play back, you will never be able to keep up. Regret is a slow poison. It doesn't kill immediately. It waits. It waits for silence. For loneliness. For memories to hit like thunder. And that's what both Alan and Tina were now drinking. Slowly, bitterly. But Beatrice? She was just getting started. Months passed. Beatrice had reinvented herself. New job. New city. New circles. Still glowing, and still watched from a distance by the two people who once thought they were playing chess while she was playing checkers. Alan was stuck in a maze of what-ifs. Tina had returned to being alone, the sweet irony of betrayal. You get what you want, and realize it was never worth it. They had apologized. Publicly and privately. But Beatrice wasn't bitter. She was better. And just when they thought she had moved on quietly, she made one final move that left their jaws permanently hanging. Beatrice got an invitation to speak at a women's empowerment conference, to share her journey, her heartbreak, her rise. She agreed. But what no one knew was that Alan and Tina were in that audience. They had come to support a friend, not knowing she was the main speaker. When she stepped onto that stage, elegant, radiant, and composed, they froze. And then she spoke. No names. No finger-pointing. Just a story, told with grace. There was a girl, she said, voice soft but steady. She gave her heart to someone. Trusted a friend with her soul. And got burned. But instead of screaming, she healed. Instead of fighting, she flew. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's success. It's healing. It's peace. To anyone here who has ever been betrayed, let them go. But never forget the lesson. Don't lose your softness. Just learn to sharpen your silence. The hall exploded in applause. But Alan and Tina? They sat still. Small. Exposed. Because she didn't just tell a story. She told their story, and she told it like a woman who had already won. That was her final move. Not a fight. Not a slap. Not a scandal. Just truth told with elegance. And from that day on, every time someone shared her clip, every time her quote popped up online, Alan and Tina remembered. We didn't just lose her. We lost the chance to say we were once loved by her. Betrayal doesn't always break a person. Sometimes, it sharpens them into something unrecognizable. And when Beatrice decided to return, she wasn't coming back to rekindle love. She was coming to collect her debt. Alan was shocked when she called. His voice trembled as he answered. "B, are you okay?" She was calm. "I'm fine, Alan. I've been thinking about us." Silence. He held his breath, like hope had come alive again in his chest. "Can we meet?" she asked. "Just talk." That same week, Beatrice also met with Daniel. She didn't wait for dessert before saying it. "Daniel, you've been incredibly kind. You've helped me stand when I could have drowned. But I can't lie to you anymore." He looked into her eyes, steady and unbothered. "You're still in love with him," he said softly. Beatrice swallowed. "I don't even know if I call it love anymore. Maybe it's something else. Unfinished business. But I won't waste your life waiting for me to figure it out." Daniel smiled, not with joy, but with grace. "Thank you for your honesty. Not many would give that. But B, if you go back there, don't go as a fool. Go with your eyes open." She nodded. "I'm not going as a fool, Daniel. I'm going as something else entirely." And so, she returned. Not to the home they once planned to share, but to the man who once threw away her love like a crumpled note. Alan welcomed her like a prisoner receiving pardon. "I knew you'd come back," he whispered. "I prayed for this." Beatrice smiled, The kind of smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm not the Beatrice you left, Alan. I'm not here for kisses or memories. I'm here because you and I have one final chapter to write." At first, things felt like a miracle to Alan. She moved in. They went out. She laughed again. Tina heard the news and felt her stomach twist. She called Alan, desperate. "She's doing something. Can't you feel it?" But Alan, blind with relief, replied, "Maybe she just finally forgave us." Tina wept. Forgiveness isn't always peace. Sometimes, it's preparation. Beatrice, now living under the same roof as Alan, began her masterpiece. She slowly turned the tables. She made him confess to everything, and recorded it all. She brought Tina into conversations, praising her sweetness in public while stabbing her image with subtle, poetic vengeance. She invited their mutual friends and told the full truth wrapped in elegant stories, making Alan feel exposed without her ever raising her voice. Every dinner, every date, every moment, Beatrice gave Alan a taste of the pain he once ignored. Uncertainty, insecurity, isolation. She made him feel unwanted while being right beside him. And when he begged, tears, regret, desperate apologies, she leaned in and whispered, "This is how I felt. Every single day." Then one day, she left again. Without a fight. Without a note. Just a whisper into the hallway. "That was your lesson. I hope you remember it. Because I will forget you with peace. But you will remember me with shame." As for Daniel, he moved on. Married a woman who didn't need fixing. But he never forgot Beatrice. Not because he still wanted her, but because she proved that grace and revenge could live in the same soul. Alan and Tina? They faded into history. Still together, for a while. But never at peace. Because love built on betrayal can't stand. And Beatrice? She became a voice. For the broken. For the betrayed. For the ones who stayed too long, forgave too deeply, and rose too gracefully. Sometimes the greatest punishment is letting your betrayer live long enough to realize what they lost. Beatrice wasn't looking for love anymore. She had tried, lost, learned, and left. So when she saw Clover walk into her office that afternoon, tall, confident, and respectful, love was the last thing on her mind. But fate, with all its irony, had other plans. Clover had come to sign contract papers for a massive construction deal. He had no idea that behind the glass doors of that building sat the woman who would shake his soul. When he saw her, he paused. Her poise. Her calm fire. Her strength. He smiled. "Beatrice? Beatrice Jones." She blinked, surprised. "Clover Adeyemi? Oh my God." It had been years. University memories came flooding back, project groups, campus protests, and quiet library moments. But both of them were not the same people anymore. They had been scarred, and strangely enough, that's what drew them close. Later that week, he invited her for dinner. A cozy restaurant. Soft music. No distractions. And over grilled fish and wine, they peeled open their wounds. Clover had been engaged once, to a woman who loved his money, not his heart. "She left me 3 weeks to our wedding," he said. "Ran off with my business partner." Beatrice shook her head, fighting a lump in her throat. "Mine was my fiancé. Slept with my best friend. I forgave them both, then taught them a lesson they'd never forget." Silence settled. Not awkward, just deep. Then Clover reached out his hand. "Let's promise each other something." Beatrice looked up. "Let's never lie to each other. No matter how much the truth may sting." She nodded slowly. "Deal." From that night, something started. Something deep. Unfiltered. Not rushed but real. They became inseparable, like magnets molded in heartbreak and bound by mutual healing. People noticed. Some smiled. Some frowned. But the ones who had pretended to be friends, the ones who had once betrayed, doubted, and downplayed them, grew uneasy. Tina heard about them and broke down in her bathroom. Alan saw a photo of them online and smashed his phone. Even Daniel, in his quiet grace, paused and wondered what might have been. Their love was bold, not loud. Public, but not forced. It was the kind of love that didn't ask for validation. It just existed, beautiful and dangerous. Then came the threats. Anonymous messages. Shady stares at business events. One night, a voice note was sent to Clover. "You think she loves you? You're just her next experiment." But Clover only chuckled and sent it to Beatrice. "Your past is restless, love," he texted. "They know they've lost something they can't replace." But the war was only just beginning. Because this time, Beatrice wasn't alone. And her comeback wouldn't just be legendary. It would be shared. Beatrice was calm. Too calm. She walked into Alan's apartment one breezy Saturday morning and sat across from him. Her eyes were gentle. Her smile, soft. But underneath that softness was strategy. "Alan," she said, "I've been thinking. Maybe we should stop running in circles." Alan blinked. "What do you mean?" She reached for his hand. "Let's get married. Let's just do it." For a full minute, Alan couldn't speak. You mean it?" "Yes," she replied, nodding. "You still love me, don't you?" He jumped to his feet like someone hit the lottery. "Of course I do. I knew you'd come back to me." He danced around the living room, picked his phone, and immediately called his mother. Within 48 hours, wedding plans were in full swing. Alan was obsessed, ecstatic, oblivious. He gave Beatrice millions. Buy the gown. Book the hall. Handle decorations. "I want this to be the wedding of the year." And Beatrice? She smiled, and said nothing about Clover. Then she did something unthinkable. She approached Tina. "Tina, I need your help." Tina was stunned. "With what?" "The wedding. I know we've had our issues, but I want to believe you're my sister before anything else." Tina's heart almost jumped from her chest. Was this forgiveness? "Of course, anything. Thank you so much for trusting me again." Beatrice hugged her. "Let's plan this together. Let's give Alan the best." And just like that, Tina was back in the game, thinking the battle was over, unaware that she was just a pawn in the final round. Meanwhile, Clover and Beatrice picked the exact same wedding date. Same time. Same venue. But their own wedding was quiet. Secret invitations to only the loyal few. No noise. No drama. Just precision. And then came the eve of the weddings. Alan, excited and drunk with foolish hope, sat in his apartment. Tina came over, acting like the faithful friend, only that she had no intention of being just a friend. "One last drink, Al," she whispered, "before you say goodbye to your freedom." Alan laughed, unaware that the poison was already dripping again. The night ended in the only way Tina knew how to close chapters. Sinfully. Alan didn't resist. He still belonged to Tina, no matter how much he wore Beatrice's ring. But what he didn't know was that Beatrice already knew. Every step, every lie, every dirty moment. Because this wedding wasn't a celebration. It was a setup. And the guests? They would witness something so shocking, so unforgettable. They would talk about it for the rest of their lives. He thought it was his wedding. He thought she was coming back to love him. He thought forgiveness meant forgetting. But Beatrice had one last card to play. And it was the kind that makes even the boldest man tremble. Unseen. Unnoticed. Undone. That's how the final nail was hammered into Alan's fantasy. The night before the wedding, a tiny security camera hidden inside a fancy vase in Alan's room recorded everything. Tina's seduction, Alan's weakness, every careless whisper, every foolish lie. The footage. Securely in Clover's hands. Wedding day. Crowds gathered. 2 events, 1 venue, same time. But only one was real. Clover and Beatrice arrived early, radiant in the exact outfits Alan had paid for, walking hand in hand, glowing with truth and strategy. The hall was filled with close friends, genuine well-wishers, and loyal hearts who knew exactly what was going on. The wedding proceeded beautifully, from vows that felt like poetry to a kiss that sealed their redemption. Cheers echoed. Cameras flashed. Glasses clinked. It was perfect. Meanwhile, Alan, clueless and dragging a dolled-up Tina beside him, burst into the venue with a roar. "Where is everyone?" The hall was already being cleared. Chairs stacked. Tables wiped. Decorators packing up. Security guards stepped forward. "Sir, please. You can't enter. That's my bride." Alan yelled, sweating, confused, lost. But the moment he stepped inside, he saw it. Beatrice. In his gown. Standing beside another man in his suit. Photographers snapping their final poses. Guests clapping as they exited. And then, the car sped past. Beatrice leaned out, waved calmly, a victorious sparkle in her eye, and blew them a kiss. Then she dropped something on the floor, a small white envelope. Alan picked it up with trembling hands. Inside was a folded note. It read, "Dear Alan, I wish you and your lust a happy married life. You're free to use the remnants of the wine and meals we serve today. It should be enough to celebrate your own union with your second-hand soul. P.S. You forgot this." Asterisk. Inside the note was her engagement ring. The same one he gave her. Cold. Heavy. Final. Alan collapsed, right there on the pavement. Crowd scattered. Some screamed. Some laughed. Others whispered and recorded. He woke up hours later, in a hospital room. The beeping of machines. The scent of disinfectant. And sitting beside him was Tina. Her mascara ruined. Her fingers twitching nervously. He turned his head and saw her, and for the first time, truly saw her. "You," he whispered. But the words stopped there. The pain didn't. He realized he had lost the woman who loved him, and gained the one who destroyed him. Alan stared blankly at the ceiling. The hospital lights above him were white, but all he saw was darkness. Tina reached for his hand, but he pulled away slowly, not with anger, but with regret so deep it could drown a soul. "She was the best thing that ever happened to me," he muttered. But it was too late. Beatrice was gone. Gone with a man who didn't just love her, but protected her, honored her, and healed her. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She didn't curse. She walked away in silence, wearing a wedding dress paid for by betrayal. And to you watching right now, yes, you reading this line, what would you have done if you were Beatrice? Could you forgive like she did? Would you plot your escape, or plan your revenge? Could you ever trust again after betrayal that deep? Let's talk in the comments below. We want to hear your voice. And if this story stirred your heart, made you sit up, made you whisper, "Wow," at any point, don't just scroll away. Subscribe to our channel right now. Turn on your notification bell, because we're not done. This is just one of many stories that'll break your heart, then heal it again. Check our playlists for more unforgettable tales, where love is real, betrayal is exposed, and wisdom always wins. Drop a comment, share this video, and remember, sometimes, the best revenge is rising so high that your enemies choke on your silence. Ready for your next story? Click, comment, and let the truth unfold.